Hi, it's Tamika Chambers with Heal from the Inside Out. It is a segment on create a generational love cycle that I started doing because one of the things my husband told me back in 2020 is that, Tamika, people are in a lot of pain. And when you think about the generational cycle of pain, when you think about when we are doing unbecoming things of ourselves, wars, um, divisiveness, prejudice, racism, when you think about the projection of pain on another person, then what comes to mind is unhealed wounds that we are still moving in life and sowing seeds of anger, bitterness, confusion, betrayal, anxiety, fear, envy, resentment, shame, guilt, and vengeance. Because out of these, what I call weeds, that are the consistent negative emotions and feelings that suck or draw from the spiritual seeds that we have within, the spiritual plants. And the more that these weeds suck the life out of us, the more we do unbecoming things. We are not standing in our truth. We are not becoming or aligning with the divine spirit that is inside of us. And one of the things I knew as a child, I believed in my heart that we were not put here to struggle, that what I was seeing was not what life was supposed to be about. And it's not about positive thinking. It's not about just idealistic. It's about a knowing that won't leave you, that tell you that because you want to love and you know what love is not, you've experienced it, that somebody else out there wants love, that we all want love. We are from love. But we often allow our experiences to strip us of who we are, or even to bury the goodness, the love that is inside of us, the peace, the happiness, the joy, everything that we go outside of, thinking that it is outside of us. We think that we can have joy, peace, and goodness with bottles, with alcohol, with food, with over exercising, under exercising, through so many different things, avenues, that brings us the happiness, the joy, the peace that we seek. We seek that no matter what happened, when that experience is over, when you wake up in the morning from whatever you have done outside to seek something that is always on the inside, you will still have that experience, that those unhealed wounds that you will have to deal with. And so it becomes, why not deal with it? Why not face our emotions, our feelings head on? Because if we're going to come back to that anyway, if we're going to, when we drink alcohol and we overdrink, or we eat a lot of food and to we're knocked out unconscious because we're on a sugar rush, or whatever it may be, we've exercised ourselves so much that we're totally exhausted. When we wake up in the morning, you will still have that wound that is not healed. It will still be there. And we can keep numbing ourselves. We can do other things, but it will still be there. It will be unaddressed. And so, one of the things that I am forever grateful for is having a mother who found her voice through some painful experiences, including domestic violence, who realized that my children need to have a better life than me, who sowed her life lessons, principles that she gleaned from her experiences. Some of them many of them I've already shared. But on Fridays, and today is Sunday, but on Fridays, I've been sharing it, Heal from the Inside Out, because I just put it with the trash day. the ultimate trash day, that every day you should be assessing what you have in your garden, what you have on the inner, and what do I need to get rid of? What do I need to pitch? And as you know, the trash collector comes typically once or twice a week to take that trash away and that you will never see it again. And so daily, yes, we empty the trash. And every time we go to trash can, we may see what we've emptied. But Friday becomes the day that we just say, enough is enough. I don't need to struggle like this. There is another way. And often it is a way of greatest resistance. It is easier to make excuses for ourselves, to say that I am what I've been through, to say that, well, I'm not strong enough as you. I'm not as positive as you. I didn't have a lifestyle as you. I didn't I don't have the money like you to see a therapist and to talk about everything I've been through and to be healed. But I believe that within us is everything we need to transcend our experiences. It's not about just thinking positive. It's not just about some I'm just say it. I'm speaking out, speaking from my mouth, but it's actually going through it. It's actually experiencing the anger, the frustration, having fear to knock on your door multiple times. It's feeling like you're in a storm and being swift and being just away in this tornado, turned around and around and around till you can't see, you can't breathe. And realize that you don't have to be part of the storm, but that you can stand outside of the storm. You can observe the storm. You can wait for the calmness that comes when you're in a storm, because you know that the storm is because you are creating the storm. You are allowing these emotions and feelings to take you somewhere, to put you somewhere where you can't think, you can't process what's going on. But when we get mentally separate from our experiences, because before there is a physical separation, there has to be a mental one. You've heard the saying that you can take a person out of a bad neighborhood, but you can't take the bad out of them, per se. And I disagree that we can remove these weeds if we are observant enough, we are awakened enough. We can see what they are and we can remove them to restore the peace, to restore the happiness, the joy that we even had as a child, as a baby, the trust, the faith, the insight, the seeing that babies and children see, that we can restore ourselves. And my mother's principles that I am rewriting, editing the first edition of my mother's principles, my mother's words of wisdom that I published in 2013, and it was in 2022 when I was writing a devotional book. And I started writing, I realized, oh my gosh, there's so many more principles that my mother taught that are not in the first edition. So I decided to go ahead and update that first edition as I am speaking. And one of her principles that I want to talk about that she told me as a child and told her children is that what is for you, you will get. And how I use that to heal from the inside out. Because I believe what she had already told me was God is faithful. He is just and always there. And I believe that God was good, that my father, my spiritual father, loved me and wanted me to have a good life. So her words confirmed or nourished the belief that I had, that it didn't matter what I had been through, that God still loved me and still wanted me to have good things. And on the other side, I had to think about what I wanted, because I knew that at a young age that whatever I thought about or whatever I labeled myself as, that I would become. I believe that labels were like, it was like the plague for me. It was like, I'm not taking that label. I don't care who you are, my grandmother, my mother. Anytime something was said, I would visually give it back to them because I didn't want to own it, because I knew if I owned it, I would become it, that it would be very easy for me to become what it was. So it that principle also not only confirmed what I believed in my heart was true, but it also, on the other hand, taught me that if I wanted good things, I had to think about good things, because I did believe, and I was experiencing it, that I would ask God for things and I would just sit back and watch it come to fruition. I didn't know about the law of attraction. All I knew, I'd read the Bible. I'd read the Bible from front to back, King James Bible, and seeds were sown in me, not even knowing. And one of the seeds that was sown was, if you ask, you shall receive. So I started asking God for things, Christmas, birthday toys, and money, and things of that nature, little things, because that was my mindset at the time. Growing up in a rural community, and having a single parent, and watching her struggle, that even just those little things I would put out there. And for me, often I didn't feel like we were poor. I felt like we had exactly what we needed. But it helped me to change what I was thinking about, because I wanted good things. I wanted God to see that I wanted good things, that I thought about good things. And often in the world, on a bigger picture, because as you know, individual consciousness feeds into our collective consciousness, these thoughts that roam around looking for a place to grow, that doesn't care if you're a nun, a pastor, um, a construction worker, a dancer, a coach, a teacher. It will come wherever it can to plant itself and to grow more of its kind. So every day, in every way, we have to assess our inner garden and see what we're growing inside of us. What have we allowed to come within us? And what have we planted ourselves? We have to be honest with each other, with ourselves. And so it is so important to realize that we do not have to steal and take from others, because you see a lot of dominion, a lot of demeaning, controlling, because of wanting more. And that wanting more often stems from believing there isn't enough, which often stems from lack of faith or belief that God is for us all. A lack of belief that there is even a loving Father creator that wants us to have a good life. See, it goes beyond what we try to label greed, what we try to label domestic violence and abuse and misuse. Because if we truly believed in who we are and who made us, because I've talked about relationship being on three levels. It's the relationship that we have with our creator, the relationship that we have with ourselves, and the relationship that ventures out into what we have with others, your spouse, your significant others, your children, mother, father, etc. And so whatever we believe about this infinite being and what it desires for us will feed into how we act, how we express ourselves, how we think about ourselves, how we treat others. Because if you truly believe that you will get what is yours, that whatever is for you, you will get, then there's no need for sabotage. There's no need for labeling others, demeaning others, blaming others. You did this to me. Because whatever they did to you, they first did to themselves. And what I think about, because when you start talking about projection of pain and misuse and abuse, you think about that whatever happened to that person that caused them to do it. Because if you really go on that level, empathy and compassion will start sprouting up within you. Because if you remember how you felt and think about how that other person felt, if they were misused, and chance there is a possibility. Not everybody that was abused or misused turned out to be that way. They say, no, you know what? No one should go through that. And that was the conviction that I had as a child. You should never ever force yourself. I didn't want to be that person when I grew up to force myself on others. That people should not, especially children, should not have to grow up with that type of opposition. They should be free to enjoy their life and live and work on their gifts and talents. That's what I believe. But there are some that are still living in that pain. If you think about, my God, you went through this too. There is compassion because we will often allow the pain to bury the truth that is within us. That so quickly we talk about divisiveness and we talk about equality, we talk about diversity and inclusion. But what about equality for those that have forgotten who they are? And I don't know every single, I don't know everything that was done in the world. I know what I experienced, and I know that continuing hate, anger, fear is not helping us in this collective consciousness. We continue to see more of whatever we are thinking about. And our experiences show us what we're thinking about. We're seeing wars. Well, there's a lot of divisiveness going on in individual consciousness. We see abuse, misuse. There's still that in individual consciousness labeling. Because when you label people, you limit them and say, this is who you are. You are an abuser. You are a child molester. You are a someone who did you are domestic violence, whatever it may be, a robber or thief. It's the same as someone saying prejudice and racist things. So we have to be careful when we start labeling people, because if you truly see their pain, then you will see they are beyond, they're not the actions that they did. And I know I get it. Like, Tamika, you don't know what I went through. You don't know what they did. But I do know, I do believe that we're all made in this divine power image. That often we in our moments, maybe not the sin as great, but in our moments, we too have forgotten who we are with our children, with ourselves, saying things, calling ourselves outside of our name, not properly taking care of our bodies, and eating foods that we know can cause that we know is too much, eating in excess, eating under the amount, over exercising, the own abuse that we do to our own bodies. That the unhealthy act is still an unhealthy act. The unconsciousness is still unconsciousness. The lack of spiritual awareness is still the lack of spiritual awareness. We don't get forward in life by believing that we must cut down others to get what we want. We get what we want because we remember our divine source. We remember that it does not condemn us. Therefore, we do not need to condemn ourselves or condemn others. We know that it wants us to have a prosperous life. We know that it is the power that can change, transform hearts, that truth does not need to be defended. It just needs to be spoken and acted upon. That we have seen people that have gone down unhealthy paths turn their life around, imprisoned, and end up being speakers, judges, teachers. That they realize they realize that what they were doing was not right. And so why can't others realize what they're doing is not right? Why can't we have more prayers instead of more condemnations? Why can't we see the innocence in people? When a man chooses to rob somebody and goes in, but stops in the middle of the robbing because of a word that was spoken, because of the heart that was touched, the mind that was touched with the truth. And so we're not less than we are if we've experienced things. Number one, we still have the full right to have the life that we are promised, the life that we deserve, the life that we are, love. That just because you experience hateful acts, prejudice acts, demeaning acts, doesn't mean it stops you from having a prosperous and abundant life. Number two, we have to control our mindset because we still know that whatever we tend to think about, we tend to attract in our lives. So to really get what we want, we have to have faith and believe that we can receive what our hearts desire, what our true hearts desire when it's not tainted with negative emotions, feelings, weeds. And that number three, that we do not need to belittle others in order to get what we want in any shape or form. Sabotage, demeaning, slander, dominating them, removing them from this planet. We don't need to do that. But if we just be who we are, if we use that power, that law that knows all, sees all, that wants everyone to be an expression of truth, then will we will sit back and know that whatever is for us, we will get, that we will work hard according to the work that we need to do. Not so hard that we burn ourselves out, but we're working in alignment with the truth, step by step, day by day, moment by moment. When we need to rest, we rest. When it's time to work, we work. But we trust that this power knows every path that we need to take in order to live the life that we are here to live. And we purify our hearts, we master our minds towards peace, and we embrace, we nourish, and we express the divinity within us. This is Tamika Chambers with Create a Generational Love Cycle. I don't focus on breaking the pain. I focus on creating the cycle that will bring us back to who we really are, dismantling the thoughts that created the cycle of pain and replacing them with thought seeds that are life sustaining, that are grounded in love. So I pray that this will be the beginning of a transformed mind, that renewing your mind and believing that we deserve what we desire, that we don't have to think less of ourselves or others to get what we want, that we just have to be who we are. May this week be a prosperous week for you, enlightening week for you, a week of spiritual awakening, realizing that you are beyond anything, that you cannot be labeled, you cannot be defined, you cannot be limited, because you are a divine spirit.